The humble hatchback has come a long way in recent years, and Aussie buyers still love their small 5-door models. So we have assembled 3 of the big names out there in the hatchback market, which also happen to be big sellers. And we want to find out which is the best small hatch you can buy. We've set ourselves a price cap of $25,000 for this test, and all 3 of these models are front-wheel drive and petrol. Our contenders are the all-new Toyota Corolla Ascent Sport, the Mazda 3 Max Sport, and the Hyundai i30 Active. We'll assess each of these models for their practicality, safety, value for money, and of course, how each of them drives. Let's get started. First up, let's take a look at the practicality on offer. Each of these small cars has 5 doors and 5 seats, but there are some marked differences in how useful each is. There's no other way to put this. If you have kids, you probably shouldn't buy this Toyota. The boot space is very much compromised. It will struggle to fit a pram and all that other baby stuff that comes with it. That might matter to you, or it might not. The Mazda doesn't have the biggest backside either, but at least it managed to fit the pram easily, and it also fit 3 suitcases where the Corolla could only fit 2. But the best in terms of practicality out of these 3 is the i30. It's got the biggest boot, it easily coped with our 3 suitcases and swallowed the pram without any hassles whatsoever. Thankfully, all 3 of these hatchbacks have spare wheels in their boots under the boot floor, but only the Mazda has a space saver. The others have full-size alloy spares. Now, what about the back seats? All 3 have armrests with cup holders, and there are bottle holders in all of their doors, but only the Hyundai has dual map pockets. I'm 6 feet tall, or 182 centimetres in the new money, and the driver's seat was set for me in each of these cars. The Hyundai might have a big boot, but it's got the least legroom of these 3, like quite a bit less than the other 2, but it does have good headroom, just like the Mazda 3, and it's the only one here with rear air vents. That's a big bonus on really hot or really cold days, but it's part of a safety pack. We'll get to that soon. The Mazda was judged to be the most comfortable for 3 adults across in the back, and it is reasonably spacious back here, but the seat backrest lies back a long way, and also you've got to factor in that this transmission tunnel does eat into space quite a bit. The leg and toe room in the Toyota is the best here, but headroom is pretty cramped, and this over-sculpted dark headliner does eat into space and makes it feel a little bit claustrophobic. Plus, the fact that the door openings are actually pretty small means that it's more of a couple's car than a real family option hatchback. And on that topic, all 3 models have ISOFIX child seat anchor points and 3 top tether points as well. Let's take a look at some of the features up front, starting with the media screens. Each of these cars has a touchscreen media system with Bluetooth phone and audio streaming and USB connectivity. Plus, all 3 have sat-nav, but there are some differences in terms of their usability. The Mazda is the only one with a rotary dial system to control the screen, which is super handy, even if it can be a little bit slow to load and sometimes glitchy. The Toyota's system is also a bit slow, but it has a huge screen that looks more impressive than its competitors, and its reversing camera display is the clearest too. The Hyundai screen is yet another tablet-style unit. It's the only one with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, plus it's the quickest to load, so it's our favourite of these 3. Now, let's take a closer look at each individual cabin. The Hyundai is the plainest in terms of its cabin design, but it does have practicality absolutely nailed. There's better loose item storage throughout the cabin of the i30 than there is in the other 2 cars here, and while it might not have the visual pizzazz of the other vehicles, it does do the usability thing really well. Everything's logically placed and really well thought out. Much like the exterior of the Hyundai, the interior is very much inoffensive, but it's just a little bit bland. The Mazda steps things up in terms of interior presentation, although it's not quite as contemporary today as it was when this car launched way back in 2013. It's a mixed bag in terms of spec as well. There's no digital speedometer, there's no lights on the sun visor mirrors, which apparently is a pretty big deal, and also you don't get daytime running lights. But things like push button start and dual zone climate control do lift the cabin ambience, and it does feel pretty plush in here. Up front, the Toyota is a real wow moment. It feels more expensive than the other two cars here, and that's despite the fact that it doesn't have a leather-lined steering wheel like the other two, and it's also got hard plastic door tops and pretty cheap looking door handles. But the dash just looks amazing, and that's probably the most important thing when you sit in a car like this. All the storage options are pretty smartly laid out, but the most important thing about this new Corolla are the seats. They're really supportive, great comfort, and good shoulder support and bolstering all down your back. It's actually probably the best small car seat I've sat in a long time. And while the black headlining does cocoon you a little bit too much in the back seat, up front, it really adds to the visual drama. When it comes to safety kit, all vehicles have a reversing camera, and the Mazda and Hyundai have rear parking sensors. The Toyota doesn't, but it does have the better camera display. The Hyundai and Toyota have 7 airbags, with the Mazda offering 6 because it misses out on knee coverage. Each of these cars has the maximum 5-star NCAP safety rating, but only the Corolla was tested in 2018 under the strictest modern criteria. The Mazda 3 was tested in 2016 and the Hyundai in 2017. Now, on the Hyundai, it's the only one here that you need to option a safety pack on, and that adds things like AEB and lane keep assist. If you want all the nitty-gritty detail on what each car has and misses out on, check out the review at carsguide.com.au. What does each of these vehicles cost at the time of testing? Here's the list pricing. Remember, that's the price before on-road costs, and you could find even better deals if you're willing to shop around. Again, read the full review for every little detail. Now, let's talk drivetrains, and while no model here is turbocharged, there's one that's punching above its weight in terms of power, and it's the Toyota. The Corolla has a clear advantage in terms of its power output, but the i30 has the most torque. The Mazda 3, well, it has the least power and torque, but also has the lowest fuel use, both in terms of the claim made by Mazda and what we found during our testing. And it's the only car of this trio with stop-start. Now, driving. As with all Hyundai passenger models, the i30 has been tuned to Australian taste. It's a bit pitter-pattery in terms of ride comfort, with the torsion beam rear suspension in this active model unable to match what you get in the equivalent Toyota and Mazda. They both get multi-link rears. The steering is, well, mostly pretty good. It can be a bit heavy at times, and it can be a little bit inconsistent in its weighting, and it's also twitchy if you hit mid-corner bumps. If you're driving it hard, you'll find the limits of excitement because of the Kumho tyres. They're not very good at all. But if you are into driving hard, then maybe you should consider spending just a little bit more and go for the i30 SR, which gets the independent rear suspension and better tyres, and is better to drive in pretty much every way. But the 2-litre engine in this i30 Active does offer decent refinement and good mid-range punch as well. And the transmission is pretty smart too, especially if you're driving hard, although it does have a tendency to shift up to save fuel, but it doesn't do a very good job of it. Zoom zoom? Not so much with this engine, which is a bit of a dullard when you compare it to the other two cars here. It's slower, and it definitely feels it more when you add a little bit of extra weight. If you've got adults on board, you'll notice it. But the transmission is pretty smart in terms of trying to deal with the lack of grunt, and it's pretty snappy when you put it in sport mode. But it's a very buzzy engine, and I'm not the only one here at CarsGuide that finds it a pretty uninspiring drivetrain. The ride is firm, and the suspension can be upset by sharp edges, both at the front and at the rear. And while the steering does have good feel to it, that's only if you find the right section of road. If you hit a mid-corner bump, for example, you'll get a lot of jostle through the wheel, which isn't the most refined characteristic. So the Mazda 3 is fine to drive and fun on a good road, but it's not the best of these three. The best car to drive out of this mix is the Toyota. Yep, you heard me correctly, and it's by a fair margin. The suspension comfort and compliance is excellent, and the ride is supple. And while the steering is pretty light, it actually feels more dynamic and agile than the other cars in this test. Some of that comes down to the Dunlop tyres, but most of the applause should be lauded on Toyota's engineers. They've done a terrific job with this new Corolla. And I'm not just talking about fun roads either. Across pockmarks, potholes, roundabouts, traffic lights, speed bumps, all of that stuff, the Corolla is just better than its competitors. The drivetrain wins out too. It's got plenty of get up and go, and Toyota's clever launch gear system, which is an actual first gear before you flick to CVT mode, changes the drive experience for what otherwise could have been really boring. It's actually quite enjoyable. Plus, it has the best brakes of these three in terms of both feel and response. This is a really positive drive experience, and you should definitely try one for yourself. So, what's the verdict? Well, if you need a practical small hatchback with a big boot, then you really should take a look at the Hyundai i30 Plus. It offers a solid ownership plan, a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which is matched by the Mazda. But the Mazda just happens to be a 5-year-old design, and it's starting to feel its age as well. Look, it's still a really good car, but it's not the best in this comparison test. No, that accolade goes to the Toyota Corolla, which we think is the best to drive and feels the most expensive inside. Plus, we reckon it looks the best out of these three as well. That's subjective, obviously. As for the practicality, you might find the boot too small for you, and the fact that Toyota doesn't offer the same length of warranty might factor into your decision. But we came here to find the best hatchback under $25,000, and the Toyota Corolla is it. Tell us what you think. Did we get it right? Is the Corolla the best of these three hatchbacks? Let us know in the comments section below. And also make sure you hit subscribe on our YouTube channel.